Are there any questions from the brothers on the floor? From the brothers here in the masjid? Or any of the sisters here in the masjid? If you have any questions, then inshallah we'll give you priority bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. If there are any questions from the brothers or the sisters pertaining to the topic or anything else, then we'll try our best to give you the precedence now, inshallah. Tfaddal. Wa fikum barakallah.
So it's commonly said that if someone wants to seek training, they should start with the Quran. So how can someone who was trying to memorize the Quran balance between that and seeking other things of knowledge that are important, like fiqh and aqidah and tafsir? Because memorizing the Quran takes a long time. There are a lot of things to affect you.
Questions regarding a student of knowledge beginning his or her journey. And the first thing that you should start off with is memorizing the Quran. How do you balance between that and the other things that you have to learn and study, such as aqidah and fiqh? And many brothers, it takes them a while to memorize the Quran, etc. Jazakallahu khairan. A very commonly asked question. It depends on the person. Are you in it for the long haul? Or are you in it for something short, brief, and basic? If you're trying to be a student of knowledge for the rest of your life, and you're trying to be a scholar, and you want to be a professional student of knowledge, a real student of knowledge, you want to keep doing it, and you have the intention of being an imam, or a sheikh, or a qari, or whatever, that's the field in which you want to live in. You want to surround yourself in that profession. Yes, I want to make money based off of my teachings. Yes, I want to make money talking about Islam. Not just to make money or to get rich or to eat from the Quran and take the deen as money. No. But I want to surround myself in this fortress, and I want to put up these walls that don't allow me to escape. So I have to study and teach because that's how my bills are paid. I have to study and teach because that's what I do for a living. As far as if you have another profession, a job on the side, this profession on the side, this hustle, I do this and then I come when I'm finished, then you're going to make excuses for yourself when you become tired, when you become sick, when people talk about you, when things go rough, when you get a divorce from your wife, or whatever goes on. Because I'm just seeking knowledge on the side, in actuality, or I'm teaching on the side. I don't need it. I work at the hospital and I do the classes for free on the weekend. There lies no doubt you're going to make an excuse and you're going to be quicker to cancel the class instead of the brother who's actually working and teaching at the same time. Everyone understand this? And that's any professional. Any professional. Someone who is talented as a boxer and he's actually in the gym. He's actually running. He's actually watching the tape. He's being trained to be a boxer and he has the talent to be a good professional prize fighter. There lies no doubt. The more that he has to work doing this and go here and go there, it takes away from his chances of actually being a good prize fighter. But the moment that he takes it serious and he realizes that it's not just a hobby or a thing on the weekend, it's a career, and I want to surround myself in the world of boxing, he's going to be a what? No doubt, a better boxer. Because that's what he does. Eat, sleep, drink, and box. Everyone understand this? So it depends on what you want. If you just want to learn the basics, if you just want to get a little bit and also be an engineer, like many brothers want to be, or a doctor, or a pediatrician, or this, or this, or this, or that, like many other people, that's fine. Then you get a little bit of each thing. You make yourself well-rounded. As far as if you say, no, talabul ilm, that's going to be my life. Done. Seeking knowledge, teaching knowledge, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Then you're in it for the long haul. And you actually have to do it systematically, step by step, and it may take you longer, but it's no rush. You understand? It's no rush. Because you're not in a rush, because that's what you plan on doing for the rest of your life. As far as someone who only has a 4-year window, different story. 6-year window, different story. 2-year alim course, that's a what? Different story. But you're actually I want to memorize the Quran first and foremost, and that's going to be my first thing I'm going to do. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is, when we say start off with the Quran in Arabic, of course there are many other things that you need that makes it easier to memorize the Quran and to understand the Quran. However, we're talking about your systematic study of the majority of your times. When we say start off with the Quran, it doesn't mean that you can't read books on the side. It doesn't mean that you don't sit in this lecture. It doesn't mean that you don't read this about the etiquette of the student of knowledge. But it means if I have 10 hours out the day, or 12 hours out the day, or 14 hours out the day, however many hours you have of real hardcore study, the majority of it must be devoted to the Quran. And obviously, you can burn yourself out. You have to pace yourself. And if you place too much upon your plate with regards to the Quran, you can forget it. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ says, Ta'ahadu hadha al-Quran. Or Ta'ahadu al-Quran. He says, look after it, maintain it. Because it leaves one faster than an unfastened camel. An unfastened horse, it'll leave. So you don't just memorize Quran for 12 hours out the day every day. That may be too much for you to bear. Too much for you to review. But it means that you don't go to this class, this sheikh, this book, talk about this, and you ignore the Quran. وهكذا. You understand this? So there's a balance, of course. Wallahu a'lam. Wa iyyakum. Tafadhal.
Salah from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Assalamu alaikum. Is it allowed to take medicine to miss or delay one's period for the Hajj?
Question comes from Minneapolis, Minnesota. With regards to taking pills to stop one's menstrual cycle to make Hajj. It's permissible as long as the pills don't harm and hurt you. They don't take a great toll on your body. There's nothing wrong with that. It's permissible to take those pills for itikaf or for Hajj or whatever else you need to be free from your menstruation. However, the natural way is always the best way. And the moment you stop the natural way, you stop the natural flow, many things go wrong inside of the body. When you stop things that are supposed to move, things they get out of whack and they get out of sync. And this is the concept of stopping menstruation is nothing new. It's old. The concept of pregnancy tests is very old. You read about ancient Egypt. They had a way of determining when a woman was pregnant if her stomach was flat, her belly was flat. They had a way of determining. They had an ancient pregnancy tests. These things aren't new concepts. However, pharmaceuticals, the medicines, this pill, this chemical, this shot, this thing, that's a different story. And it lies no doubt is that back in the past, the concept of menstruation oftentimes was problematic. It was problematic for many scholars. Many scholars, they found a difficulty in really understanding it and mastering it. And that's because one of the worst situations will be a woman who doesn't have a normal menstrual cycle. She doesn't have a normal period. The signs aren't there. This isn't there. And they call us what? Mutahayyira or muhayyira. A woman who's confused or confuses the faqih. And some say that Imam Ahmed rahimahullah said, Jalastu fi kitab al-haydhi tis'a sinin hatta fahimtuhu. He says, I studied the rulings of menstruation for 9 years until I understood it. So if that was Imam Ahmad back in the day, imagine with all of the chemicals and the processed stuff and this pill today, how much more the menstruation will become confusing. That's the point I'm trying to get to. It's going to become even more off track, out of whack, and out of sync. So with that being said, you take these pills, you take this medicine, you take this shot. It's going to give you some convenience. It's going to help you out temporarily. But if you use it too much, or if you use the wrong one, or if you just use it, period, it can throw the natural things off of track. And then when you're done with the Hajj, you're done with the itikaf, you're done with Shawwal, now you want your menstruation to be normal, but it doesn't want to be normal anymore. A day, an hour, 2 days comes, goes, and then everything is out of sync. So just be mindful of that. And it's nothing like the natural way. If you're going to take those pills or that shot, then let it be for a limited period of time, and let it be under the guidance and the instruction and the advice of someone who's learned and experienced. Wallahu a'lam.
Question from online. Initials AB from London, UK. Where is the aura of a man according to the most authentic narration? He says, could I pray in my underwear, for example?
Question is from the UK. The aura of a man according to the most authentic narration. And can I pray in my underwear? As he's mentioned in the question, he says according to the strongest. So if we say strongest, that means that there's a weaker. The strongest man in the room means there's someone who's in the room who's weak or weaker than the strongest. So we know that the scholars of Islam, they differ on this issue. What is the aura of the man exactly? Where is it? Is it from the knee to the navel, above the navel to beneath the knee? Or is it from above the knee, from beneath the navel? Big difference between the two. You can see my belly button. versus you can't see my belly button. Everyone understand the difference? From the top of the navel to the bottom of the knee is one thing. Ma bayna surra wa rukbatain. That which is between the navel and the knees. Excludes the kneecaps and the actual navel. Everyone understand the difference? So the ulama, they differ on this issue. And whenever there's any type of khilaf, we have principles. And these principles are extremely important for the layman Muslim and for the student of knowledge and the learned person. There's a golden rule. Whenever there's khilaf, you automatically have a rule book now, a playbook. You have to abide by those rules. And from those rules is never losing sight of precaution. Never lose sight of precaution. The safest, most important rule. Another very important rule is to aim for the bullseye and make your mark, bi'idhnillah, as close as you can possibly get. فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ. Whatever you differ over, take it back to Allah and His Apostle. So you have to make an attempt to get to the closest, strongest opinion. And not just say, oh, it's khilaf, so let me just close my eyes and grab something out the bag. As many people do. They do this and it's wrong. They think they can just take and select any opinion of any faqih because there's khilaf. No, it's wrong. And the same applies to a layman person, not just a scholar. You go and you ask the one whom you trust the most, the one whom you feel is the most well-read on the subject, the one who you feel is going to give it to you the realest and the rawest than anyone else. And you don't go to someone who you feel was laxed or someone who's lacking. There are principles. So when it comes to the awrah, whether the awrah is the two private parts, whether the awrah is the saw'atan, whether the awrah is the fakhidain, the thighs, you are going to stay far away from any type of discrepancies. Whether it is or isn't permissible to pray in your underwear, you're not going to do it. Period. Period. The thought is not going to cross your mind. And if you were a prisoner, if you were trapped somewhere and you only had a loincloth or your underwear and you had to pray, that's a different story. But there's no circumstance and condition in which you're going to willingly pray in your underwear, whether it is permissible or not, period. It's not going to cross your mind, period. If you don't have a shirt, you have pants, you have an izar, let alone you have a wardrobe of clothes. You have 20 pairs of underwear, socks, shorts, shirts, this and that. So it is the thought is not even going to cross your head, period. And there is no alim that would believe that the awrah is a saw'atan, the private parts and the buttocks, and is going to pray intentionally in his underwear. No one is going to do that, period. It just doesn't work like that. And even if that is the awrah, the concept of what are you wearing, the length, the transparency, the lack of transparency, the tightness, etc., it's just not going to happen, period. So if I said to you, I believe that the awrah is the saw'atan, the two private parts, and that's it, I'll never ever pray in my underwear. I'm not going to pray in shorts. I'm not going to pray in pants. If I'm in a house, I'm going to pray with a thobe. Now, if I'm stuck somewhere, I'm a prisoner, a captured prisoner of war in jail, that's a total different story. Wallahu a'lam. Sheikh Yusuf. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. May Allah make it easy for you. Crystal clear, Sheikh. How's your family been? Good? May Allah bless your sons. Right. The question is regarding when do you put the knowledge into practice? You keep learning and learning and learning and learning and learning and learning and learning. When do you start implementing and put into practice? A very important question. First and foremost, we have to understand that all knowledge is not made for practice. Some knowledge is learnt and studied just for theory. Some knowledge you learn just to know about it. And there are other aspects or arenas of knowledge in which you don't learn to act upon it yourself, but you learn it for others. You learn it for others, and that's the fard kifaya. If I've learned the basics of my tawheed and aqidah, I've learned the basics of my salah, of my wudu, of my ghusl. I've learned the basics of hijab, the basics of hajj. I made hajj once. Khalas. I've learned the basics of zakat. I pay zakat yearly. Khalas. I learned the basics of the month of Ramadan. Khalas. The basics of my daily life. The basic rights that my wife has over me. The basic rights that I have over her, etc. I don't have to learn anymore. What am I going overseas for? Study and learning this qira'ah and this book and this ijazah. Except to be a mufti for the people. Except to be a speaker and an orator for the people. Because someone in the masjid has to know about this weird issue. Or this unmentioned issue. Or it's a very common issue, but the people don't learn about it because it's not mandatory upon them. So oftentimes, if you're learning the fard kifai knowledge, you learn it not for yourself, but for what? For others. I've made hajj already. I don't have to study anything about hajj anymore. Period. Done. If I've done it one time successfully, inshallah, I don't have to make hajj again. I don't have to never ever go back to Saudi Arabia. Ever. Period. Done. But I'm studying hajj over and over again because people come to me and they ask me questions about hajj. So I'm no longer studying what? For myself. I'm not studying to implement what? Anything anymore. And the only implementation of that ilm is al-ifta, is to tell people about it and give them information. Period. Done. And then there's a third type of knowledge which you learn only with the intention of acting upon it. You learn with the intention of not being a munafiq, of not being someone who preaches and doesn't practice. May Allah protect us and hide our faults and our errors and our shortcomings. You learn it with the sincere intention of implementing it. So it's different types of knowledge, Sheikh. It's different types of knowledge. And it depends on what's your status and what you're doing and what position you're in. A layman person versus someone who's a leader and a guide. This is different levels. But at the end of the day, like I just said, even if you seek knowledge to tell people about it, you're still implementing it by giving them the answer. But it's very dangerous to learn something and not act upon it. Or a person learning something and they learning something new and they haven't learned the previous stuff. That's a problem as well. That's a huge problem. May Allah help us. وإياكم. Fadal.
Kind of like in between what Sheikh Yusuf was saying and what you were saying in regards to knowledge. How about like let's say a balance and let's say call this word character implementing just a service on a daily basis, carrying someone's struggle upstairs, and then you see that for a second. Based on knowledge of being in service of people, an ambassador, kind of like just spreading goodwill and implementing basic fundamental knowledge, basic things on a very practical level of hoping to enhance character.
Right. With regards to enhancing your character and making yourself a public servant, an ambassador for the people, helping out the people, walking an old person down the steps, giving up your seat for a lady on a subway, helping someone who's having a hard time with a stroller, learning that and implementing the beautiful akhlaq of Islam, so on and so forth. How does that fall into the previous question? Learning with the intention of implementing it, learning it with the intention of just helping out people, etc. Those things are the basics that every Muslim must have. Every Muslim is supposed to be brave. No Muslim is supposed to be a coward. Student of knowledge, scholar, layman, taxi cab driver. You're supposed to have the necessary amount of courage, whatever you need that courage for. Every Muslim is supposed to be honest and upfront. Every Muslim is supposed to be kind and humble and soft and merciful. Every Muslim is supposed to be firm for the cause of Allah, etc. And also the student of knowledge. But the student of knowledge is supposed to be, we said supposed, not always is, huh? Allah help us. He's supposed to be from the elite. He's supposed to be on the forefront of ikhlas, of sidq, of shujaa, courage, of helping out people, serving people, humbling his people. As many of the pious predecessors, they would say, ينبغي على العالم أن يضع التراب على رأسه. The learned person should put dirt on his head. He should put dirt on his head. Does the layman Muslim not need to be humble? Of course. But the more knowledge you get, the more humble you have to be. So every Muslim is supposed to have these basic things. Everyone understand this with regards to being gentle, with regards to being patient, and the list goes on. But the person who's learning the Quran and Sunnah, he has to do it even more. But you don't need a great deal of knowledge to get that. You don't need a great deal of knowledge, but you need to be reminded. You need just a reminder, that's all. So the khutbah of Jummah is about carrying a stroller for someone, holding the door for a lady. You see a new non-Muslim in the masjid, or a new Muslim in the masjid, don't jump on the new Muslim's back. Be patient with him. وَهَكَذَا. You don't need a great deal of ilm for that, but you need tadhkir. You need to be reminded. So there's a difference, like I said, between learning something new and between being reminded of what you already knew. Being refreshed, let alone learning the new depth of that ilm. I heard this hadith 20 years ago. I learned this when I first became a Muslim, but now I get a new light on it. Different story. So it's different levels. It's different levels, Sheikh. Wallahu alam. Fadal.
In regards to learn, in regards to implement, like what you learn, did the Prophet ﷺ, did he facilitate that, like in mass for the Ummah to absorb and begin to live what they learned? Did he facilitate that? Did he create an environment where this was easy?
Question is, did the Prophet ﷺ facilitate for the companions to learn? Did he make it easy for the mass of the companions to learn and to soak up the knowledge, so on and so forth? There lies no doubt one of the most important core elements of the Prophet's message was knowledge. There's no question about that. No person is going to differ on that reality. One of the most core elements of his message was learning. Learning and teaching and spreading. From the very first thing that was sent down upon him, read in the name of your Lord. There's no question about that. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. And we can't lose focus. These verses were sent down upon the Prophet ﷺ, who was never formally trained to read and write. So for me to say to someone who cannot read and write, read, use the pen, that means a lot. That means a lot. That means a tremendous amount of importance. The Prophet was never trained in that, let alone the rest of the ayats in the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Also, the Prophet ﷺ, he made certain exceptions to people who studied and devoted themselves to studying. When the man came to the Prophet and he told the Prophet that he worked, whether he was a merchant or whatever he did, but he was one who earned money. And he complained about his brother. His brother was someone who came to the Prophet and sat with the Prophet, meaning more than others. He sat learning full time. And he says, I'm taking care of my brother. My brother's just, as we would say, he's leeching off of me. I'm taking care of him. Why is it fear that I have to work and he eats from it and he doesn't work? He just studies all day. Get a job, right? What did the Prophet ﷺ say? He said, لَعَلَّكْ تُرْزَقُ بِهِ. He says, maybe Allah is giving you the money because of him. Maybe the money that you get from your job, from your working, is because of him studying and sitting with me. So he made an exception to that man to learn. And the Prophet always encouraged people to work for themselves and not to ask and not to beg. And we all know the companions, oftentimes, they wouldn't even ask someone to pass them their whip if it fell down off their horse or their camel. They wouldn't ask. They would get it themselves. So the Prophet encouraged working and being independent, and he discouraged begging and asking. Even despite that, he made an exception for that brother. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he had nothing to eat. And this goes back to what I just said about making your work ilm and making ilm your work, surrounding yourself around it. Abu Hurairah, he said, لَزِمْتُ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى شِبْعِ بَطْنِي. He says, I stood with the Prophet ﷺ and remained in his company because my stomach was empty. Meaning I didn't work, I didn't do anything. And if I got a meal, which I have to have at least one, it was only with the Prophet. He guaranteed for himself to be in the company of the Prophet. And that's why the other Ansar and the Muhajirin, they worked, they had husbandry of animals, they had farms, and they missed out on that which he got for free. So the Prophet, he always made it available for the people. But he didn't throw it down to people's throats. This is a very important difference between us. And he didn't throw it down their throats. He didn't force them. He opened up the door. He encouraged. He invited. He allowed. He facilitated. And he also made it mandatory to get the mandatory knowledge. And the rest was a virtue. And that's why Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala, he said what he said in the authentic hadith. He says, I would like to speak to you on a daily basis. I would like to talk to you all of the time. And the only thing that prevents me is to bore you. وَكَانَ يَتَخَوَّلُنَا بِالْمَوْعِظَةِ مَخَافَةَ السَّآمَةِ عَلَيْنَا. And the Prophet would give us reminders from time to time because he didn't want to wear us out. He didn't want to wear us out. So therefore, make it available for the people. Whoever wants it can come, can stay, can listen, can benefit. Those who want to pray and go home, those who want to work and just do the 5 prayers, alhamdulillah, no problem. But the push is always for ilm and the nur of ilm. And you have to push the people who 10 to get 7, 6.5. But the Prophet from among his companions are those who specialize in other things and did other things. But they all had ilm, no doubt about that. On one level, what? Or another. And it was always open for those who wanted it the most. Wallahu alam. Fadal, Shaykh. What time is Iqamah, Bilal? 10:15? طيب. Inshallah, we'll stop here. Jazakumullah khairan. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulih.